everyone. It's been a little bit since we've done a little video blog or vlog update, so I thought I would just hop on here and catch up with you guys, tell you what I have going on. It's crazy as a knitwear designer because you're just like in your own head so much in it. Like, I feel like for so long I'm just heads down knitting, and I might not post as much on social media, or I might not send out as many emails giving you guys updates on things. So I thought it would be fun to like just connect with you all a little bit more when I am off of Instagram a little bit more. I miss talking to you guys, but I get so focused on my designs, and I'm the kind of person who just needs to like put my head down and not try to do a million things a day and just focus on a few large tasks to get done, and that usually involves actually knitting or writing up patterns. So first off, at the beginning of January, I released my Catalina sweater, and you guys have absolutely loved this. It's been one of my best-selling patterns. I do have a full video tutorial for this, and it took me a long time to get this sweater published because it is a new kind of construction. It's a contiguous sweater. It looks like a saddle shoulder sweater. Contiguous means you just kind of shift where you're doing the increases. So I have these steep increases for the shoulders, and then you kind of switch where you do the increases, and then I make increases for the sleeves. And then you do increases for both the sleeves and the underarm down here. So it isn't your stereotypical saddle shoulder, I would say. I think like your traditional saddle shoulder, you actually pick up the stitches along the shoulder here, but I've seen them done many different ways. So I'm calling it a contiguous saddle shoulder sweater. And I have all these grand plans to knit this sweater in a ton of different colors. I didn't plan to release this in January. I wanted to release this more in the fall, but there are so many amazing color combinations that you could knit this in. This is knit in Drops Extra Fine Merino, and it is a super wash yarn. There are a ton of different colors. It is very soft. I knit this on 4mm needles, so it's definitely smaller gauge for me, and I actually really do love the smaller gauge, you guys. And I'm gonna get into like kind of some of my goals for 2025 and what I hope to do, but I really did enjoy knitting the sweater. So that was what I first released in January, and I will have all the stuff that I talk about in this video linked in the video description. But this is just kind of a classic sweater that you can wear all year round depending on the colors you use too. So check this pattern out if you haven't already. All right, let's talk about what I'm wearing because I'm absolutely in love with this sweater. First, let me take a sip of coffee. You guys, I normally like start drinking coffee at 6:30 and it is 8:30 and I really haven't even had a sip yet. So I'm really excited for this. I'm using my Chicago mug. It is so cold here in Chicago. I think it's been cold all over the country. Our kids didn't actually miss any school. A lot of places did. I know we have family in Ohio, and a lot of schools were out in Ohio. We haven't had a ton of snow, but it's just been bitter cold. So I have been inside knitting a ton. I've been walking on my walking pad. I will show you guys my walking pad because I've gotten a ton of questions on this. And you guys, the walking pad has been a game changer. I will get so focused on knitting a sweater that I'm probably not the best about moving around, working out, just being active. I end up being so sedentary when it's so cold like this in the winter, and I'm like all about knitting the sweaters. But I bought a pretty inexpensive treadmill / walking pad and then an adjustable desk that kind of goes over it. So I'll place my knitting on the adjustable desk and I'll knit. And then I use my knitting project bags like this to put my projects in, and I'll just have the yarn kind of come up from the bag next to the treadmill and the adjustable desk. I'll show you here, hold on. Okay, here's the treadmill and adjustable desk, and I've got it, you know, kind of in front of the TV here. It goes up to, I think, 3.8 miles per hour. So it's not like super fast, but I don't walk super fast on it. I walk about anywhere from like, if I'm doing something a little more complicated, I'll walk like 1.8 miles an hour, and I have gotten up to like 3 miles an hour if I'm just doing straight stockinette stitch. So I'll place one of my project bags next to the treadmill and I will walk on it. Now let's talk about this top-down raglan sweater. This was like my first complete knit of 2025, and I love this. I have kind of shifted away in the past year or so from like traditional raglan sweaters because I feel like that's all I made when I first started knitting. So many of you guys found me by knitting Fall Bluff or the Winter Bluff sweater. And so I thought I was like tapped out on making raglan sweaters because everybody has knit those patterns, but I really wanted just a classic sweater pattern that was a little more updated than some of my previous patterns. And what I mean by updated, I just mean like a little bit more detail, a little bit more neckline shaping, kind of one step beyond like your basic raglan. So I think the Fall and Winter Bluff sweaters are great if you're just starting to knit, but if you're looking for something a little more challenging, right? So it has this double folded over collar and it's got some neckline shaping, and I did this cool little thing where I didn't start by making sleeve increases at the same time I made the body. There's a little bit of a delay because sometimes part of the problem with raglan sweaters is that if you keep maintaining the same increases at the shoulder, at the sleeve and the body, like they just don't work out. Sometimes you don't want the sleeve as big as the body would be, other way around. And so I just kind of played around with a little bit of a twist on a traditional raglan. So you don't start making the sleeve increases right away. They're a little delayed. So I just kind of thought I would do something a little fun and different. So what it does is it creates this cool little, I don't know if you can see it, but like this direction is a little bit different than that direction. And so I think it looks really neat. And it also kind of creates a little bit more of a tailored shoulder instead of it being bigger. It's subtle, but I just wanted to do something a little different. So I knit this sweater with Drops Air, and it is so soft. It is literally one of the softest yarns I've ever worked with. I just love it. I think I've ordered the Drops Air in a bunch of other colors. I've even ordered black because you guys, when I go out in the winter, I pretty much wear all black. And I haven't knit a sweater in black in a really long time. So I know that and one of my other challenges for 2025 is I am not buying myself a sweater, a store-bought sweater. I am not buying myself a store-bought sweater. I am going to make every single thing I wear. Not everything I wear, but every sweater I wear. So my goal is to shift my closet, pretty much keeping like some really nice sweaters, like cashmere sweaters. My grandmother used to have a clothing store back in the 80s and 80s. And I kind of grew up going to her store, and I still have some cashmere that she had from her store back in the day. So like I will keep classic stuff like that. I did invest in some like really cozy Vince sweaters that I will keep. So that kind of stuff I plan to keep, but I really plan to kind of clear out like some of my like J. Crew factory sweaters that are a little cheaper, some of the Gap sweaters that I just don't really wear anymore, things like that. I will phase out. So my goal is to really focus on building a handmade wardrobe. And that entails like actually knitting things that I will wear. And that means knitting with black yarn because I like to wear black. So funny story, I have been ordering some Drops yarn and a bunch of other yarn as I'm kind of entering this new phase of like really trying to challenge myself in knitting in a smaller gauge. So the company sent me the wrong color yarn. You guys look. So this is Drops Air. Look, they sent me like 8 skeins of Drops Air in this pink color. It's really pretty, and I do wear bright colors. I probably wouldn't, I did not pick this color originally because it is so bright and you're really committing to like a bright sweater. But I actually think I might knit this sweater in this pink yarn. I've got the yarn. They made a mistake, so I didn't pay for it. They're sending me the rest of my order. But yeah, I kind of think I'm gonna knit this in pink, because why not? And it might be good as like a spring transition piece, I think. So stay tuned. I think I'm gonna be making this in many different colors. And I really like this kind of construction as a foundational pattern. So if you wanted to add stripes, thin stripes, thick stripes, if you wanted to do something with duplicates to stitch on it, this would be a great kind of foundational sweater. It's just really classic. Let me stand up a little bit more so you guys can see. I actually haven't blocked this yet, but it's not like super oversized, but it's certainly very roomy. I'm about a 36.5, 37 inch bust, and this measures, I think, around like 43.5 inches. So it's definitely got some ease, but it's not like crazy ease. The armholes are deep, but they're not crazy deep either. And I decreased for the sleeves, but I didn't decrease as much as I normally do. It doesn't like hug your wrist. Like here, I'll show you. Like on the Catalina sweater, it is a little bit more tapered and it hugs your wrist a little bit more tightly. This one, I wanted it to be a little looser. So I really enjoy it. So, and you guys, with this pattern, I went back and forth so much about like, should I make this in a bunch of different yarn weights, and should I make this a book, and should I publish this on, self-publish a book with just a million different combinations of the sweater with different colors and all this stuff. And I've decided I just need to like put my head down and stay focused on knitting and publishing patterns. Like, I get so sidetracked with wanting to do a million different things that I find that I end up not staying true to what I originally set out to do, which is just designing and publishing knitting patterns. You guys know, a lot of you know, I've tried to sell a bunch of different physical products, and I've kind of streamlined all of that right now because I really want to focus on knitting and designing and publishing patterns. I'm gonna continue to publish tutorials as best I can with all of my patterns. It does get super challenging, you guys. It is, especially this time of year, it isn't light very long. So, you know, now it used to get dark here in Chicago, like starting at 4:30. Like there would be no way I could knit past 4:30. I mean, I really do like to knit in natural light, like taking the time to figure out like artificial lighting in a different situation. Like, so I just stick to knitting during daylight. So the days are much shorter in the winter. And like, there's a lot of stuff going on around here. Like yesterday I was finishing up filming something and my husband was like snow blowing outside, and so it can be super challenging to film my tutorials because I try to like get myself to a certain point and then like I could have a break because it's like knitting a ton of stockinette stitch. But you really have to time it to like, okay, I have to finish this point so I can show you guys how to like divide for the body. I do love doing the tutorials because it helps me actually be more confident in my designs and writing the patterns up, because I'm like, this is how I did it, and I can actually go back and watch the video when I write up the patterns. So I do enjoy doing it. It just adds a lot of time to producing patterns. And I'm trying to also this year not rush the process of coming up with patterns and publishing patterns. I know so many designers, and this is me like getting distracted by other knitwear designers, you know, they publish a pattern a month, and some people pump them out really fast and others don't. And at the beginning of the year, I like sat down and like mapped out the next 6 months and which patterns, but I find that schedule and that restriction just makes me feel yucky and it stresses me out and I don't like it. So I'm just kind of letting myself have a little more freedom this year with my schedule. And, you know, I am trying to produce more content, but I'm also not letting that stop me producing all the content, like all of my reels and other kinds of YouTube videos. I don't want that to slow down my pattern designing. So I'm really focusing on the designing right now. So I think I'll do more videos like this where I just tell you what's going on behind the scenes, what I'm working on. Because I think a lot of you are actually really interested in learning about designing patterns, or even if you don't want to do it yourself, you're just curious about the process and how it all comes together, because I do think it makes you a better knitter when you understand how patterns are graded. And it is really interesting, you guys. Like, I am trying to get much better at grading. You know, over the years, I've done a lot of reading, I've done a lot of research, and I have built out these really large spreadsheets that I create for every single pattern. And it really comes down to math and numbers most of the time. But, you know, when you do go through test knitting, testers do find certain things. And I also I don't want to rush my testers. I have to say, like, I have had a great group of people who have tested for me, and I am so thankful and appreciative of all of the work that they spend. You know, they buy the yarn, they knit the patterns, they give me feedback, and I really don't want to rush that process because I do want it to be enjoyable for them. So I am looking to extend my testing time, especially now that I'm knitting in a gauge that's much smaller as well. You might see a little bit of a gap from me as far as patterns being published, but then I hope to have like kind of a lot coming up. So I released the Catalina sweater earlier this month. I have my massive spreadsheet completed with all of the numbers for the sweater. That usually is the most time-consuming thing in writing up a pattern, is like filling out my whole spreadsheet and grading all of the 9 sizes. So this will be available in extra small to 5XL. And I'm learning how to adapt my patterns a little bit better for all the different sizes, hopefully. So look for a test call for this. Hopefully by the end of next week. It all depends when my editor can get this back and when I actually can finish writing the pattern. The actual writing of the pattern, now that I have the numbers done, isn't that bad. It's usually, again, writing the spreadsheet is usually what takes me the longest time. So I hope to get this sweater pattern written up and sent to the editor today or over the weekend, and then hopefully out for testing sometime next week. So look for a call for that. If you're interested in being a tester and you're not on my tester email list, I will have that link in the video description as well. Okay, so what else do I have going on? You guys, there's a lot. Oh, I left my project bag over here. Okay, I do still have some of these project bags left in a medium and large, and I customize them for you. If you guys are interested, I'll have a link to my Etsy shop. I do have limited supply left, but these bags are like so sturdy. They stand up. You know, sometimes you get those tote bags and they like crumble, but this is great for yarn. All of these pockets, this is the medium size. The large size is really big. You can hold like knitting and a bunch of other things too. That's a great weekend bag. This is good. Like the medium size I feel like is good for every day because it's a little smaller. My computer does fit in this too. Anyway, okay, so this next one that I'm working on, and you've seen me work on this. This is that Fisherman's Rib V-neck sweater. You guys, this has been a commitment, let's just say. I have started over on the sweater, I think 4 times, literally 4 times. And it's been a lot, let me tell you. I have finished the body with this awesome double knit hem. It's so nice. This is for those of you who don't know and haven't seen this going on Instagram, this is a deep V-neck. So I haven't knit the button band yet. So that is coming. But this is a drop shoulder, half Fisherman's Rib, deep, it's like a deep V-neck sweater, cardigan. And it is so soft. This is knit with drops, Nord and Kid Silk. I'll show you this combination right here. Super soft. I'm knitting one sleeve right now and I'm decreasing, you guys, on half Fisherman's Rib. Look at that. Fun decreases. So this one I need to finish. This is going to be a beast to write up. As you guys, I did not film this. I did not do a tutorial. I started, but this was a lot of learning and growing for me to knit this. Well, I think what I'm gonna do is knit like a little instructional video on like maybe a smaller sample of like how to start the back and make the increases, and then just kind of talk you through how it's constructed and show you some of the fundamentals. But I think I will show you how to knit the sleeve and do the decreases, because I still have to knit this sleeve, so I can film this sleeve, and then I'm definitely gonna film the button band, or at least like a sample of the button band. This will be the first time I'm knitting on a vertical double knit button band. And a lot of designers have this feature, and I just love the way it looks, but it is a pretty complicated technique. You literally pick up stitches around the button band or collar in one needle, and then you like cast on and do this crazy double knitting while you are like connecting it to the body. And then you also have to knit the button bands within while you're doing it. So I knit this button band, you guys, on 3mm needles. It's tiny, but it is so good. So one of the design issues I had with this was I don't like a lot of the ways that some sweaters with half fisherman's rib or even brioche stitch, I don't like the way it goes into 1x1 rib, because this is like, you basically knit 2 rows and it looks like 1 stitch because you're knitting one below. So the transition from this, which looks a lot bigger, to like traditional 1x1 rib, it just wasn't looking good. Like I just didn't love it. I didn't like how much tighter the work got. So I played around a lot with what to do on the hem. And this just double knit hem, it's literally double knit. So I knit it at one time instead of like knitting it twice the length and folding it over. I knit it at one time and then like bound off. And I'll show you guys on this side a little bit more. And it's just like so clean and neat. And this is what the button band will look like. So I think it's gonna be a really cool sweater once I get it done. I just have to get it done. So that's coming soon too. I'm forcing myself to do that one very soon, because I think that one is gonna be like one of my major masterpieces. Like it is going to be such a classic looking sweater. I have a Jenny Kane sweater that's similar that I'm kind of modeling that off of, but it is huge. Like I bought an extra small, and I don't know if some of you guys have seen that, but like it is huge on me. And I didn't want this to be that oversized, but I wanted it to be like deep and long so you could wear it over leggings, that kind of thing. I've thought about like knitting another version that's shorter, but like you guys, that would take me forever. And I have to tell myself it's not worth making like multiple variations of some sweaters for one pattern. It's just not efficient as a designer, right? Like I could make so many modifications, but I would maybe come out with like 4 patterns a year. And I think a lot of you guys could probably figure out how to do your own modifications, you know, making something shorter, something like that. Like there's a fine balance, because I do want to offer you guys a lot of information when you buy a pattern. And I do feel like I try to be different because I have the video tutorials. Okay, the next sweater I have going on that you have probably seen on Instagram. I know there's like been a lot of Instagram teases and you don't see the actual finished sweater a lot. But this one, okay, so this is a super cozy sweater. Okay, so this is a top-down sweater where you make increases every row for the shoulder. So it's like steep shoulder increases. And it's kind of it's a drop shoulder sweater. So then you separate for the front and the back, and you come together and knit the body and the round. And then you've got these sleeves. And I wanted to design a sweater on a smaller gauge, but have it be pretty simple and a pretty easy construction. So if you're new to knitting with smaller needles, this would be a good sweater for you. I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna keep the twisted rib on the top. So I ended up knitting this top down with a folded over collar, and then I cut it off and I knit the collar up because I just didn't like the way the folded collar looked. It was like really loose and kind of baggy. And I do like the contrast with the collar with the ribbing. So I think I'm gonna keep some sort of ribbing I don't know if I'm gonna keep the twisted rib. I think I might. And then you've got the twisted rib on the cuff. So the sleeves don't have as much ease as I typically do because this is like, the body is like really oversized, and then I wanted to have sleeves that were a little bit more, that had less ease, so they hung a little closer to the body. I just kind of like that look sometimes of like a large body but then like slimmer sleeves, and you could always change the depth of the sleeves if you wanted to. It's not cropped, but it's definitely on the shorter side for sure. So this was knit on 3.5 needles, and the collar's knit on 3mm needles. And I didn't start filming this, and I'm like, you know what, this sweater's pretty simple. It's pretty classic. First off, let me show you what I knit. So that is Drops Nord and Drops Kid Silk. So same combo. Have you guys noticed, like, I find yarn that I like and I make a lot of patterns in them? I decided to put together a tutorial and also knit that sweater in another gauge because it is pretty straightforward. And I do think it would be fun to have that concept in multiple gauges. So I am knitting this on 5.5mm needles, and I started this 2 days ago. And I'm already on the body, which is great. And I just love the shoulder seam. It's really pretty. This is knit with Knit Picks, Wool of the Andes, and a Loft. So I am knitting with a lot of mohair recently. I do love knitting with a strand of mohair. Like, it just really elevates the look of the pattern. This in this sweater, if you can see, the lace is a little bit lighter, and I just love kind of the marled look of the sweater now, because it's got like a strand of lighter colored lace weight yarn. What I'm going to be once I'm done with those sweaters, I was sent some beautiful yarn from Rowan, and they've just rebranded and they've got some great yarn. So they sent me enough yarn to make a full sweater, which is amazing. This box is like so cool. It has this little handle. Such a pretty box. I'm such a sucker for packaging sometimes. And then look at this pretty yarn. So pretty. They let me pick out the color that I wanted, and this is their new softest alpaca yarn. So pretty. It's super soft, you guys. It's not a blown yarn, but it's really, is it blown? I'm not sure. So this is knit. I think the suggested needle size is 5.5mm, and it says it's 18 stitches per 4 inches. I am going to knit a cardigan, top-down raglan cardigan similar to this, probably not as thick of a collar, with some really pretty buttons for spring. That's it. Nothing overly complicated. I'm really committed to building out basic sweater pattern library. So I want to knit a smaller V-neck pullover. I want to do another smaller gauge V-neck raglan, V-neck pullover. I want to do a traditional cardigan with a crew neck cardigan. You'll see a lot of kind of more classic patterns coming out from me on a smaller gauge. So that's kind of, you know, another goal for 2025 for me, is to just really build out a classic pattern library with tutorials, right? You guys have asked me for a lot of those kinds of things. So you like the fall bluff, the winter bluff, but you want it in a smaller gauge, or you want a cardigan version of it, or the hillside V-neck sweater. You guys love that. I know I need to have another one of those in a smaller gauge. So that's all coming. So this year you're gonna really see me kind of building out classic pattern library that I really hope that I become like your go-to classic knitwear designer, where you can go and actually watch video tutorials on how to make these things. I know so many of you guys say like you're visual learners and the videos help you out so much. So I really want to continue doing that. So I'm just trying to kind of knock out some really classic raglan sweaters, and then I'm probably gonna move into drop shoulder sweaters soon too. So that's everything that's going on. That's kind of what's in my head right now. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this little catch-up video, so now you know everything that's going on, and stay tuned for a lot of fun tutorials and patterns. So hope you guys are all doing well. Drop me a line, even if you don't have a question or anything, but just drop me a line. Let me know how you all are doing. what you guys are working on right now. If there's any specific like classic pattern you would love to see from me, let me know. I do plan on creating more classic sweater vest patterns in the spring, so that's coming too. I struggle with summer knitting so much, and if you look at the timing, like it's already almost February, so by the time if I, get patterns into testing even in the next few weeks, like we're already kind of like into spring. So you do feel this like rush to like finish your winter patterns and start getting into spring patterns. But I'm trying to also tell myself, like, who cares? Like if I publish a wool cardigan in July, like, so what? Someone can buy it and start making it and be ready for fall, right? So, and it's always summer when it's winter. There's someone in the world who will want to knit that. So I'm just kind of like trying to get out of my head with, oh, I should be doing this, I can't do this. I'm just kind of letting it all go and doing what I want to do. So anyway, sorry for all the rambling, but that's the latest. I hope you all are doing well. And again, please drop me a line or send me a message. It's so fun to hear what you guys are up to. And I'm also thinking about doing maybe some YouTube lives like this where we can just hang out and chat and knit. Thinking about doing that too. So I really enjoy connecting with all of you and hope you guys are good, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.